Hello and welcome to the Road End podcast, where each week we will speak to a new guest, get to know them, and talk all things Liverpool.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Road End podcast. I'm happy to say today I'm joined by David Jaggs from the Ragamuffins. David's a big LFC fan, and as you'll know, the band love belting a Liverpool song out. So thanks for joining. How are you?
I'm good, yeah. It was actually my birthday yesterday, so feeling a bit tender, but got to deal with those things, haven't you?
Dare I ask how old?
Too old.
Right, so tell us a bit about you then, a bit about the band, how you've come about, and how long have you been involved in music?
Yeah, so the band's been going for ages. Actually saw obviously this week. The source obviously the Cheap Drills just got involved in doing the new kit launch, haven't they?
Yeah.
So I was like thinking, I remember them kind of first coming out, and that was quite a while ago. So it's great that a band that had been going a while, obviously the Maybes were involved in one of the other kit launches and that. And but yeah, we probably started around 2008, which is obviously quite a long time ago.
Yeah.
Really. Obviously over that time, there's been like member changes. People have kind of gone on to other things, and like moved away, and so yeah, we just like kind of like gradually released things, done like gigs here and there, and then yeah, just like I've always had the sort of thing of you never really say no to things. So if someone comes up with like a crazy idea, you're like, yeah, that sounds great. Which meant that we shot like a music video on this like festival thing over in Sheffield, and a thing called 2 Weeks to Make It one time, and it ended up getting previewed in a cinema. It meant that we went over to Italy for like a gig when someone sent us a message on MySpace of all things, and I was like,
wow.
oh mate, do you know what? It was like the tail end of MySpace as well, and I was like, I'm sure I'm going to end up getting kidnapped or something here. But in the end, it was brilliant. And so it's just like if someone sends you a message, then rather than I'm always sort of like open-minded about everything. I think, do you know what? Let's give it a go. Let's see what happens. So because you have, being in a band is like it's an adventure in itself. So it's pointless being. I won't bother with that. So.
How is it then? So obviously traveling around the country and going to different places as a band. Any crazy stories that you're allowed to say?
Yeah, I suppose the one thing is it's a lot of it is quite mundane, I guess, because you end if you've got to be. One of the gigs I do regularly is you play we play like an annual thing with another band to play for at Blackpool Tower, and you've got to be there at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon to set up and sound check. And you don't play until 11, so you spend a lot of time sitting in dressing rooms, and that's not particularly fun. That's
No.
that's the longest arrival to stage time of any venue. That you normally you're going on at about 8, 9 or something, and then yeah, that's not that's not a particularly fun one. Especially, it's not if it was like the summer and you were in Blackpool, you'd be like, yeah, it's okay, little stroll. But it's like December, so it's like, yeah, it's like
The
a long
coldest
wait on
pier in the world.
the coldest pier in the world, coldest seafront, like hurricane strength winds blowing you while you're going in. So
I'm assuming after that, you're all knackered as well, so there's no
but the one we did last Christmas, there was a big fire. There's a big fire at Blackpool Tower, so we were leaving the ballroom, like loading out, and then as we're driving out, it's like all these fire engines go like flying past. It's like something going on. Wasn't us. So we could have been the last people to ever play a gig at Blackpool Tower. This soul band have played for. So yeah. So it's like, fortunately not.
That would have been a good advert.
But even that, like I said, the Italy one, that was one of the first things that was insane that we got asked to do when we were over there. So our keyboard player at the time, Jules, was about, she's about 5'3". It's like tiny little girl, and like I was having a chat with some guy. He was a self-confessed Argentinian football hooligan, and I was like, okay, yeah. So he's telling me things, and then like Jules is like, right, David, gonna go, and he admonished me. He's like, you can't interrupt a conversation like that. She just pushed him and went, yes, I can. We're going. I was like, God, yeah, man. Dragging. Yeah. So, like, yeah, that could have all come badly. But yeah.
The band itself, then, as people know, the Bobby song hit off massively. I'd say from looking at the streams, the amount of streams it's had, I'm going to go with my lad's done probably half of them.
Yeah, oh yeah, you get it. Yeah, we
So,
get that. We get that a lot. Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's insane. It's like,
so the reason behind it was to raise money for food banks.
yeah, I mean, it was such a, when you say like a whirlwind, but it really was. So obviously we'd only started doing the gigs at the game. To be honest, I was conscious of not wanting of it wanting to be different than stuff like the Boss Guys do.
Yeah.
Because it'd look like if you try and copy something like directly like that, it's just never going to work and it's never going to be as good. So I was like, well, I basically got asked to start doing them when I ran into a mate of mine called Dan, goes under the name Rose and Bloom, and he's just finished the Nicky Alt play at the
Royal Court.
Yeah, so he
went there Saturday. Brilliant.
So Dan's the guitarist in that.
He's quality.
Oh mate, I've known Dan for years through like the songwriting organisation we were both in, and doing Flo, our trumpet player, I does stuff for his band and everything. So known Dan for years, and I was just doing a piano bar gig in Didsbury in Manchester. It's like a Sunday afternoon. Got a phone call from this agency. Can you just cover a gig? It's like a little bar gig, like about 15 people in there, like no atmosphere whatsoever. Just like finish one of the sets, and I just get this like tap on my shoulder. All right, Jaggs, how are you doing? It's like, hey mate, what bro? And he was over there with his girlfriend, and then says like, oh, I'm doing a lot of work at Anfield at the minute. It's like, oh, I'd love to do that gig. And he's like, really? So he kind of phoned the agency up there, and then I was like, hey mate, you're always looking for bands. I've got my mate Dave who's in a band, and so I think we then did the Tottenham game, which is the first one, on the stage outside the club shop.
Yeah.
Which has just come back now, and then it went pretty well. So we got asked to do the week after, and then we just did all the games until the rest of the season, more or less. But it was before the Barcelona game, we got introduced to Mark Kenny, who obviously we've worked with since on different things. And then afterwards, there was like a chat going on, the WhatsApp group going, oh well, I'm going to be running something on the day of the final if anyone wants. So I was chatting to him about that, because I knew with our little girl had only been born a couple of months before, so I was like, I'm not gonna be able to go to Madrid. Like, it's just not gonna happen. Yeah. So it's like I might as well try and take a gig to make sure I can get out the house on the day of the game. make sure I'm out the house. So I'm not getting involved in like nappy changes when I'm
going to work. I'm going to work.
Yeah, I'm going to work. Yeah, so just kind of get a chat with him. Mark shows me this single that he was about to put out for the final, based around the interview that Jurgen gave, where I think he said, this team, years ago, so yeah, it's a fucking team. And I'll be like, when Jurgen says that, so I was like, oh, so well, I'd like to do something with this, and we'd started playing like a full band version of the Bobby song, which had only been going a couple of months. I think it was like Porto away, it really got going, and like it was like slightly different at the time, and we were like, well, obviously if we put it to like a samba rhythm, then it'll fit in for like the kind of the fact that he's Brazilian. If we can make it really big and lively, and then Mark he goes, are you free for a phone call now? I was like, yeah. So he goes, right, I'll do this stuff for a record label. We've put out some charity records in the past. We need to put this out like now. Yeah. And so I was like, yeah, why not? So as ever, just say, yeah, sounds like a great idea. Yeah, we sort of jokingly said on obviously I think Redman TV came in and did like a making of the video. We got Ian Byrne and Dave Kelly down from the food bank. We were initially going to record it at Parr Street.
Yeah.
And obviously we booked a room at Parr Street, and there'd been like mixed messages. So Parr Street thought we just wanted the room to do the video in. So we're in Parr Street with all our gear ready to go. Oh, hang on.
Oh no.
You need a studio? And we're like, well, we need to record this today. So in the end, we did like some little bits in Parr Street. Then we kind of went over to like the only studio on anywhere on Merseyside or anywhere nearby that we could get, which is one like across the water. So we kind of went over to the Wirral and I can't remember what it's called, but we kind of did it all in like about 6 hours. Like got all the takes down, everything, put it out on. I think we recorded it on the Tuesday, and it was out by the Friday. because you're like, let's just get the ball rolling, and then it just started going from there. So obviously we did the LFC TV. Like in the run up to the game with Ian Brody, and I'm convinced there's some sort of mystical thing about like football hit records that's sort of like passed on through the ether by, it's obviously, biggest sort of, football records certainly in the last 30 years. Obviously he was involved in some. I'm convinced there must have been something to do with that. But yeah, so we did that. We did loads of kind of interviews and things, and then we did like BBC Breakfast on the day of the game as well, which is just crazy. But for starters, having to get up at 4 o'clock on the day of the European Cup final, which isn't as hard as you'd think, because you've got sort of like cup final belly.
But I can imagine the morning after was hard.
Oh well, no. Well, you say this. I don't think I slept. I don't think I slept for another. So obviously, what happened afterwards was just insane. Because we'd been told that it's on the Madrid playlist, and we just assumed that was like a Spotify thing. That like the club will put you on a kind of playlist or something like this. I was like, yeah, that's great. Not realizing it's, if we win, they're gonna lash it on around the stadium. And it wasn't.
Crazy,
it wasn't the case of. It wasn't just the case of that they put it on. It was when they put it on. It was like straight after You'll Never Walk Alone, and then bang. I was just like, phones just going absolutely berserk.
I was gonna say, I can't even imagine how that must have felt.
And like I said, we've been going a long time to get that sort of moment where, mates of mine who have, seen us playing like FC Sion in the Europa League on a Thursday night, and then and worse, and then all of a sudden, they're like there, and like, Jackson, bloody hell.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it was just that was probably the best moment in my kind of career so far, and it was amazing.
Has Bobby listened to it?
Yeah, well, see, this was it. So we had no idea whether he was personally aware of it or anything. And then when he scored the winner in the the one in Qatar, when he scored the winner in that, his Larissa, his missus, and all the family were watching it at home. And there was like a video she put of them basically playing the song.
That's amazing.
And going like, she's just absolutely incredible. And then and because obviously at any time anything like this, so there was one when Mane put it on when he was training in the gym.
Yeah,
he was just like singing along to that. And then there was another one when Bobby did like a little promo thing for, I think we were playing Tottenham. It was like one of the lockdown games, and he scored the winner with like a last minute hit, when Tim Sherwood was saying, Liverpool have not threatened at all from these corners, and then bang, bullet head.
That was great, that winner.
But he was doing like a promo thing before, and they were doing like a quiz, and he won the quiz. And so to celebrate, he basically puts it on his phone. And a mate of mine who works at the AXA was saying that apparently he walks around playing it all the time.
That is unbelievable, isn't it?
So he's probably responsible for the other half of those players.
Yeah. You're looking at a Liverpool legend there playing your song.
Yeah, exactly. I'm incredibly proud of it. I really am. I mean, got like there's mates of mine who support other teams who were like, yeah, it's actually quite a good record. It kind of holds up.
Well, it is, isn't it? Because you get the usual football songs, or even ones that are amazing themselves with guitars, but that whole samba feeling just gives it that extra bit, doesn't it? Especially with them being South American.
Yeah, I think you can't take yourself too seriously when you do it. I mean, there was a video going around this week of a lad doing like a Man United thing, and it was like people were absolutely like slating him. Yeah. But it's really hard. It's really. You've basically got to realize that it is a bit of a ridiculous thing. So it is. But you've just got to have a laugh with it. And ultimately, I mean, we've done gigs like we had a gig in town immediately after the Europa League final when we got beat in Basel. Oof. And we'd obviously had it booked in for ages, and that was just hard.
Yeah, to pick yourself up.
I mean, because it's one thing to pick the crowd up, but first of all, you've got to pick yourselves up and be like. Yeah.
I think like anyone that night, though, it was a case of, do you know what? We've been beat. It was grim, but let's just enjoy the ride. Let's just get bladdered and crack on.
I think the biggest thing was for that night was you sort of felt that there was a trajectory going up. And if we'd have been able to get into the Champions League at Klopp's first attempt, the players he'd assigned would have been potentially of a better caliber. Yeah. But ultimately, that's someone we get Wijnaldum and Mane. The rest is history.
Exactly.
So you can't. Oh, and Matip as well. So you're kind of looking at that and you're thinking, well, what was the lad at PSG that he originally wanted? He obviously went to PSG. Do you know what? Which in itself, Draxler.
Oh yeah,
Apparently,
and he's
so
been linked with us every year.
so there you go. So sometimes what's the Rolling Stones one? So you can't always get what you want, but sometimes you get what you need. And I think that's
Exactly
it,
right,
isn't
though.
it? So
Yeah.
So you kind of think of the play. You think of how it might have panned out.
So do you know? I've noticed you do the match day then near the ground. So how did that come about, first of all? But also, is that a regular thing now for you?
Yeah, it's very much so. I mean, we now do pretty much every match day at Hotel Anfield.
Yeah.
Which is like number 23 Anfield Road. It's here, and Taggy's on the corner, and then it's next door to Taggy's. Yeah, and it's amazing in there. Obviously, I started doing the one in there specifically when I think the first one was the day when we lifted the league title, the Chelsea game.
Yeah.
Because obviously it was still sort of locked down. So they wanted to do something, but they wanted to do something in as ordered a way as they could, because obviously they didn't want to get shut down. Because Peter and Alan, I think they only opened the play on the day of the Bournemouth game, which would have been like the 7th of March 2020. So they got one Premier League game in, they got the one Champions League game, that Atletico game, and that was it. And then obviously they got shut down. So they didn't even have a month. So they didn't even have a month's worth of like PAYE or whatever so they couldn't. They basically had to furlough done all the staff training, so they had to furlough the staff themselves. I think they were keen to kind of try and get something going as soon as they possibly could, and it was when you think back, it was just crackers. The way that you had to jump through hoops every time, and there's obviously rhymes and reasons of why it was the case, but it's just bonkers.
But you're there weekly now, and home games and smashing the tunes out. How's the response?
Yeah, it's brilliant. I mean, like I said before, it's like, I mean, I'll do some of them on my own, but if I do them on my own, I try and like make it a bit different, because there's a lot, there's obviously a lot of people now kind of playing Liverpool songs on guitar and that. So obviously I play piano. Yeah, so we do, when we do them as a band, we try and we do the thing where we'll play the Liverpool songs to full band. So a lot of the stuff is bar stuff that we do, because it just works really well. A song out for Minamino, when he arrived, to the tune of Monkey Man, which worked really well. Minamino comes from Japan. Which is quite fun. But we did like a ska version of Postcards to Tommy, which worked really well with the brass and everything, and same for like the Van Dyke song. And so, but I try and do a lot of piano stuff as well, so it'll be like a bit different, isn't it? I don't think no one else who really does that, and a lot of the songs work really well on piano as well. So you can just get the percussion stuff, and obviously do quite a lot of I wound up getting asked to do a lot of dance music stuff, because I've got like, despite the kind of music that the Ragamuffins as a band make, normally I've got like, I do like me synths, so I get to like muck about doing like Zombie Nation and things like that, which is just funny. And but people live off it and like have a great laugh in there.
So do you know, as I think I read somewhere that you're from, is it Clitheroe?
So I live over Whalley Way, which is like one of the little villages near there.
And how did you turn into a Red, being from there? Then let's say this.
Well, everybody has this. So all my family's sort of like Liverpool based, like historically. So my mum was sort of Walton / like Norris Green sort of area. Growing up near Broadway and everything. My dad's actually a Blue, believe it or not. So he was like born on Scotty Road and everything.
Must be so proud.
Well, this is it. Obviously with it being like with it being a charity, it's like he's probably responsible for half the play. But also Bobby's never scored against them. So I don't know whether he's just trying to do he's trying to show solidarity. Yeah, he's trying to do solidarity with the cause. Yeah, so it's obviously I was forever getting Liverpool annuals and things as a kid. Yeah, my auntie gave me the first signed thing I ever got was a programme that Bruce Grobbelaar signed, because she was the secretary for his solicitors when he was doing his legal case, which we won't mention.
Nope, keep away from that
one. Step away from that one. But so I got a signed programme and all that. And I think there was another time when my nan was in hospital having something done, and there was a lad in there who was like, I work at Melwood. Basically got a poster, and so I got a signed poster of the 1990 team which is still like one of my prized possessions.
Oh,
And
definitely.
like, yeah, so it's like I'm waiting to find out one day. I'll probably like I'll chat to like someone and be like, yeah, is this you? And he's like, that's not my signature. So the lad will probably just gone round the corner, gone, oh, I've made this little old lady feel dead happy about the fact that I've done her a favour.
As long as she was happy.
Yeah, exactly. I was thrilled with it as a kid. So, we just, even if it isn't, we'll pretend.
So I seen something about you doing like a tour of America, or doing a couple of dates in America. Is that happening, or how did that
Yeah,
happen?
well, it will be, but I think that for the short term, because of the flight kind of issues at the minute, it was meant to be a Thursday until Monday thing, and it's just they've had to move the flights for us.
Yeah, very minimal, aren't they, at the minute?
Yeah, and it's just hitting a point where for this one, I think we're gonna have to step out from it. But obviously, we're going to be doing one next year for them when they kind of run the event again. Obviously, we went to Vancouver for with the Cop Connect sort of event last November, which was just insane. I mean, it wasn't helped by the fact that about 2 weeks before we went, obviously applying for all the visas, you've still got all the COVID hoops to jump through at that point. Where you've got to get like a test before you fly and everything. And Will, our drummer, decides that he wants to break not only one but both of his arms.
Oh.
So he was on the other band that he plays for, called Bethlehem Casuals. He was on tour with them, and he was skateboarding in Bath after a show, when he'd obviously had a few jars at least. And obviously I never, you never really think of someone like Bath as hilly, but apparently Bath is very hilly. And he just kind of was going down the hill too fast, came off, and he was like, "Oh, my arm!" So knew he'd broken one arm. So he tried to phone an ambulance. Like, "Oh, you're going to be waiting at least like an hour." So he phones an Uber. The Uber turns up, and he goes to open the door of the Uber with his other arm. And he's like, he gets to the hospital, and he's broken both of his arms.
Recovered well though.
Yeah, that's the 4th time he's broken an arm since he's been our drummer. It's just like, it's like some achievement, to be fair.
Yeah, but it's not even drumming.
No, but exactly. He wasn't even drumming. So yeah, he's done. He's done. I think one of them he did in lockdown, like initially, like at the start of it. So it wasn't the worst timing that it could have been. It's like, you're not going to be doing anything for the next couple of months anyway, so you might as well just sit around and wait for it to get better. So yeah, so we had to find. We basically just had to put a call out for like any drummer that we knew who, one, was able to do like COVID test, 2, could learn the Liverpool set in a week, and 3, obviously 4 was like, 3, you have to have a passport, because loads of people have just gone, we're not going to be traveling anywhere for a couple of years, not going to bother doing my passport. And obviously, if you didn't have a passport at that point, you weren't getting one. So it's like, have you got a passport? So one of our mates, a guy called Ruben, who literally lives about 2 minutes away from Old Trafford, he kind of gets in contact, and I'm like, are you all right with this? It's like, and he's like, I'm not really interested in football. I'm a basketball man.
Oh,
so I was like,
perfect.
So we'll go around to your flat. We'll do the rehearsal. So we're rehearsing all the Liverpool songs for the gig in his flat in Old Trafford. Like, this is a song called "LA." It's just kind of, don't play it loud. Why? I won't have any windows by the end of it. Crazy how it all came together. And obviously did the gig. He was brilliant. So just got to go there. And I think that when we kind of finished the set, we had Phil Thompson, Roy Evans get up and like sing the last couple of songs with us, having a dance around, and it's absolutely bonkers. We went to the Vancouver Whitecaps game, and Brad Smith was playing for Seattle's team. It's crazy. So yeah, it's just, but that's it's just been like an incredible sort of like journey. We're doing that,
and hopefully it's not the end of it. I mean, we keep seeing you go from like strength to strength, and see us in different places, maybe on the club's pre-season tours, things like that.
Oh well, yeah, that'd be nice. Yeah. Well, this is it. I mean, obviously they've not been to America on the pre-season tour for a couple of years now. So so might be something on the cards regarding that next year. We'll see. But we're looking to like do some. Yeah, please, hint. No, but so we're looking at doing like, because the funny thing was, right before Season Your happened, we'd just done the most recent sort of EP. We were kind of putting that out, And it was sort of like, it was a bit of a weird one, because obviously when you're putting a record out, you do all the promo and you try and give yourself as much time to get it out to all the radio stations and everything as you possibly can, which was great. And then obviously the opportunity to do the See Senor thing came up, and it sort of overshadowed it to the point where we had a kind of record release like scheduled in for the Friday when it came out. And obviously everyone was like retweeting it. I think like Carragher was retweeting it and everything. And
Brilliant.
so I'm just like, I was trying to be useful, and I had my set list on my phone. And obviously, you know, the way obviously you get your notifications coming down.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna be set list here. So I was like, it's like absolutely. So I had to apologise to the audience for being antisocial, but it was you know, it was dead nice little thing. But even then, the Wednesday before it came, the Wednesday before the final, we'd booked in to do a show at the Everyman.
Yeah.
And with it being before a cup final, it was dead. It's absolutely dead. So because I think the day after we were filming this thing for LFC TV, we never at that point we'd never played the song as the full sort of like band. We obviously played it with like the three-piece that we put, the three-piece part of it that plays on match days. We've done it as a four-piece, but we've never done it with like all the brass live, all the sort of like second guitar and everything. And so we just announced it going, okay, yeah, so if you haven't heard already, we put out a charity single. So apologies to any blues in the audience, but it's obviously going to go to like a good cause, everything like this. And so the lady who was running the lady who was running the venue filmed it. And then obviously on the Saturday night, she's like, Jesus Christ, you know, these guys are playing to about like 20 people in my bar the other night. And it's just, yeah, it was just absolutely insane, that part of it as well. So yeah.
Obviously, I've never been in a band. I don't know that, but you can't just go immediately into selling out venues. You can't immediately go massive fan bases. So you've got to go from somewhere, haven't you? Especially cup final day, everyone's out on the ale, aren't they?
So it's, but obviously we'd booked the gig in months before, so we'd had all the things sort of sorted out, and then obviously people are just like dropping like flies and going, well,
Yeah.
you know, I'm gonna be in Spain, or like I'm having a big weekend, so I'm not gonna be going. So what can you do? Which, you know, to a point is, because, you know, especially when you do it, when you're planning gigs, you've got to sort of look at the football schedule. I mean, it makes it a little bit easier actually doing match day gigs, if anything, because it means that, you know, you at least know what's going on.
Yeah,
and
true.
So when you're booking like a little tour, you're not going to be like, well, we're going to be struggling then. Yeah, it's made it a little bit easier the like year or so. Yeah, we're just trying to think of like what we're going to call the next record. So the best one so far that we've got is I've kind of written about my mum and dad growing up. So there's a thing. So, you know, Guy Garvey's in Elbow.
Yeah.
So he was saying that he'd done a thing recording his mum and dad talking about growing up and everything. I was like, well, I feel like I can do one, not do one better in terms of getting one up on him, but like I think of doing one better in terms of like writing songs about like things that they had, you know, they had growing up and everything. And yeah, so I'm tempted to call it, in honor of the Kink record, the Village Green Preservation Society. I'm gonna call it the Norris Green Preservation Society. So we did some stickers a couple of years ago for like, you know, when we brought out Never Rains on Mossley Hill.
Yeah.
With like the Mossley Hill sort of like sign as you go in it. So I'm like trying to think of something to do with like the bridge on like
Broadway.
The bridge on Broadway. Yeah, I'm trying to think of a way of getting that on a sticker or on an album cover or on a t-shirt. So got it. That's my next sort of like artwork related plan.
We asked our guests to choose their ultimate five-a-side team who they've seen live playing for Liverpool. Let's find out what they said.
So players I've seen for Liverpool.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Right. Well, I'm going to go slightly. So I think there's only one place to start. I think the best keeper that we've certainly had in my lifetime is Alisson. And I think and also the fact that he's so good with his feet. I mean, I suppose it depends on your five-a-side rules. It's like, you know, if it's five-a-side where he can come out of the box, then you're thinking, my God, he's going to be scoring. He's scoring himself. But yeah, but even then, even if he's got his distribution with his throws is dare I say it, Schmeichel-esque. It's unreal. It's like you just, the way he kind of gets attacks going and like distributes the ball out is the kind of thing that we're envious of like years ago, and he's just unreal.
Yeah, he's the vocal point, isn't he, at the back?
But then you're kind of thinking, well, it's five-a-side. I mean, obviously, the obvious choice would be to say Virgil, but I'm thinking you don't need a centre half. It's five-a-side. It's like so. I'm going to say you have Gerrard as a pivot because he played as a pivot because obviously everything else he can give you in terms of his sort of goals and his range of passing and his dynamism. I think he could do a brilliant job there. And then I think you want in five-a-side. I think you want legs. You want lots of running to give you space, but you want movement as well. So I'm gonna stay on brand and I'm gonna put Firmino in my five-a-side team because why wouldn't you? So I'm gonna go Firmino. I'm gonna go Suarez. Got movement as well. You can kind of play off the left, so you can play Firmino sort of like right drifting, Suarez off the left, and then I'm gonna go Salah just because he's just an absolute goal machine. So it's an incredibly attacking team. Thinking that if you've got a goalkeeper like Alisson playing at the back, you've got Gerrard playing as a pivot, I think you're going to do all right.
Yeah, especially with them around him. I think Gerrard would let you have that one as well. Wouldn't have to do anything.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just like him being able to give the ball to players as they move off him. I mean, if you're playing like two at the back, I think you go Van Dijk and then one other, and then you can only pick two attackers. So you're thinking, my God, you might never concede a goal, but you're then having to pick two attackers from the players that we've had in the last like 20 years, and you're like,
to be honest, I like the way you've done that because obviously everyone goes with Virgil, and I go with Virgil myself. I think it's more just because I'm in awe of the man. I don't think you can really argue if you've got Gerrard sat there because the other ones, they don't stop running. So I don't think he'd have to do much running anyway.
No, exactly. Yeah, you forget just how incredible he was. Like because there's players now and who kind of are equated to him, and I think the closest is De Bruyne. Because he is a mon as well as everything that he brings technically he's got a physique now. I don't know whether he's quite at the physical level that Gerrard was.
He's as close as he gets, isn't he?
He's as close as it gets.
Yeah. Just a shame they've got him.
But even that, I mean, you think that he was considered a flop when he signed. It was obviously a Chelsea flop that they signed for like big money. Look at what he's done. He's a big red, or he was as a kid. Michael Owen was his favourite player. Get him.
Sure, Jürgen could have a little word with him, know what I mean?
Come on, Cat.
Right, Jags, that has been spot on. I appreciate your time today, mate, and I hope things go bigger and better for the not only for yourself but for the band as well.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
So I'm sure we'll catch up soon, and I'll be in Hotel Anfield to see you smash it.
Fantastic. Yeah, see you there.
Thanks to everyone for listening to today's episode. Don't forget to follow our social media, twitter.com/theroadendpod, and also our Instagram page, instagram.com/theroadendpod.